Hello again everybody. So today I thought I'd do a little safety video talking about motorcycle tyres and how to check them properly, and specifically how to check their age, because that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about but is very, very important. Now, as most of you hopefully will know, the two most important things on a motorcycle are the brakes and the tyres. If you haven't got good brakes, you're in trouble. If you have got fantastic brakes but your tyres are bad, you're also in trouble. So it's incredibly important to check these things. Now, obviously, I would like to hope that a lot of you, and all of you in fact, check your tyres on a regular basis, and if you do, you'll know the standard procedure. You check the tyres for signs of excessive wear, you check you've got a decent amount of tread, you check that there's no obvious cracks or damage in the tyre itself, and generally just cast an eye over its overall condition and make sure that it looks okay. And obviously other things like check your tyre pressures and stuff like that. These are all things that you should be doing on a pretty regular basis. But tyre age is also a very big thing to consider, because the thing with a lot of motorcycles is they don't necessarily do that many miles in a year. So say for instance you have a bike that you only ride in the summer, or maybe only ride on a weekend. You're not necessarily going to wear the tread down that fast, so your tyres might actually seem to last quite a few years. But that becomes a problem, especially when it comes to buying second-hand bikes, because you can buy a second-hand bike that's got really low miles on it for its age and everything, and the tyres will look fantastic, but there's always the risk that they could actually be a bit too old. Now, when it comes to tyre age, generally speaking, 5 years is around about when you want to start looking to change them. Some tyres may last a little bit longer than that, but as a general rule, to be on the safe side, if the tyre is older than 5 years, it's probably not worth the risk, especially when you consider that as bikers we only have two wheels in contact with the ground, and most of the time they're considerably smaller and thinner wheels than you'd get on a car. So, you know, for us it's really a massive safety concern that we make sure our tyres are in top condition. Now, the reason age is such a big problem is because rubber obviously deteriorates over time. So what will happen is it can start to crack and things like that, and start to disintegrate effectively. But before that starts happening, before you actually start seeing the physical cracks and actually noticing the signs of age, the rubber itself actually gets harder. So the thing to understand about motorcycle tyres is that they're actually in general softer than car tyres, because they need to be that little bit more gripping, because we only have two wheels in contact with the ground. I don't actually fully understand the reasonings behind the choice of rubber composition in tyres, because I'm not by any means a tyre expert, but as a general rule they do tend to use softer rubbers and things like that. What happens is, before the rubber starts to get to the point where it cracks and things like that, it actually becomes harder. Now, if you imagine your tyre when it's new, it's softer and it's nice and grippy and everything else, and it will drive lovely in, well, you'd like to think, all weather conditions. If it's a good quality tyre, then you'll be able to ride in the wet and you should be absolutely fine, so long as you're not driving like a lunatic. But as that rubber gets older and harder, it obviously becomes less grippy and more slippery, because if you think you go from a soft rubber tyre to a hard rubber tyre on wet roads, it becomes a lot more slippery. So this is where you get people who buy a second-hand bike. So say, let's give an example, we're now in the end of 2020. Say right now I went and bought a 2013 Suzuki Van that had very low miles on it and very good looking tyres, but those tyres were still the ones that came out of the factory. They would be 7-8 year old tyres, so they'd be several years beyond what I would consider the safe limit, that 5 year cut-off point where I would want to change them for safety concerns. So with that being the case, I wouldn't be surprised if I found the bike slipping out around in wetter conditions because of the rubber getting harder over time. And like I say, the rubber will go hard before it starts cracking, so you won't necessarily see it. If you were to just glance over the tyre, especially if it's been cleaned, you might just think that's in fantastic condition. So you really have to be careful with these things. Now, as far as actually knowing the age of your tyre, even if you've just bought a brand new set of tyres and had them put on your bike, they're not necessarily that doesn't mean that they were made and produced in that year. They could have been sat on the shelf for a little bit. It's not uncommon for a new set of tyres that are being put on a bike to be 1 or 2 years old. That's considered acceptable because usually people, as I say, 5 years is the cut-off point for age, but generally people will look to switch their tyres 3 or 4 years. If, like me, you use your bike on a regular basis, you'll wear the tread down before that point anyway, so it's not a major concern. This video really is for you guys out there who don't put an awful lot of miles on your bike, or if you're buying a second-hand bike and, you know, obviously you want to check this out to be sure that you're not going to have any accidents. So, how do you actually know how old a tyre is? Well, hopefully you'll be able to see this. In fact, you will. So, as you can see, on the tyre you've got loads of different markings. Now you've got markings that show you the rotation, so this is which way around the tyre has to be mounted on the bike. Up the top here, you can't see too well because of the lighting, but you have the actual size of the tyre. So mine's obviously a 180 by 80 by 14. That's the tyre size. All sorts of markings. But if we come down to here, I know it's upside down for you guys, but you can see we've got dot, followed by some other bits of coding. Obviously MCs just stands for motorcycle. And then right here, sort of embedded in the tyre, we actually have a 4-digit number. Now that 4-digit number represents the week and year of manufacture. So in my case, I've got, unfortunately, because it's upside down and because it's a little bit dirty, you can't necessarily see us very well, but I've got 2118. So what that means is this tyre was manufactured on the 21st week of 2018, which means that it's, well, on the 21st week of 2021 it'll be 3 years old, so it's 2 and a bit years old right now, which is absolutely fine. And I know this because I put these on quite recently, and you know, I bought these last year, so basically these were sat on the shelf for a year. So when I bought them they were already a year old, and yeah they've been on for about a year and a half, so that makes sense. But that's how you work it out. That's how you work out the age of your tyres. So the next time you go out and look at your bike, especially if you don't ride it too often and your tyres have been on for a number of years, or if you're looking to buy a new bike, or second-hand bike I should say, definitely check out the age of the tyres, because as I say, alongside the brakes, the tyres are the biggest safety aspect of a motorcycle. You do not want to be riding around on tyres that are over 5 years old, really, because, as I say, the rubber will be have gone harder. Potentially, you know, you might be okay on decent dry roads, but as soon as it rains and starts getting wet and slippery, you could find yourself in a really dangerous situation. And for the sake of swapping the tyres out for a new set, yes, it's a bit of money, but, you know, what's more important? A couple of pounds saved, or potentially your life. So it's really a very good idea to look into that. That's pretty much it for this video. As I say, just wanted to do a quick sort of safety video on this, just because it's a subject that came up in discussion on a website quite recently I was looking at. So I thought I'd do a video on this for you guys out there who don't really know what to look out for on your tyres. Hopefully it was useful to you. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Obviously if you did, please do give it a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. I do have other videos explaining various other aspects of motorcycles and, you know, test rides, off-road and all that kind of stuff. For now, I'll catch you again soon.